One day after the October 2027 cutoff can close the temporary Frye Scholarship expansion, Professor Beaulieu studies survivor education policy. She is joining Professor Erica, Michael and me to separate the new category from the older Frye Scholarship rules.
Start with the family, not the form. This benefit exists because a surviving spouse or child is planning a future after a loss, but 4 dates can blur together.
Emma, which school terms would test the new category without mixing 4 dates?
By separating them, Professor Beaulieu defined the new doorway first.
Exactly. Congress added children and spouses of a person who died from a service-connected disability within 120 days after honorable discharge or release. The term must start before the 2027 cutoff. The rule reaches a transition period that older summaries may not mention, which is why a fresh eligibility check matters.
The exact rule says the death can have occurred before, on or after enactment. The temporary part is the academic term window, not necessarily the date of death.
This family is reviewing its documents. Qualifying terms must begin on or after August 1st, 2025 and before October 1st, 2027. A term that begins October 1st is outside that exact temporary wording.
The discharge date and character of service answer one part. The death date, cause and school term start answer the others.
And one boundary matters. This is not a promise that every survivor qualifies. Check the exact death category. It is a new doorway for a defined group, followed by the normal VA eligibility decision.
Families should also separate eligibility from school admission. A VA education award does not admit a student, reserve a class, or waive a school's own deadlines. Those are parallel tracks that need to move together.
Think of 2 workshop trays, one for VA eligibility evidence, one for admission and the school's official term start. Mixing the parts makes the diagnosis harder.
Which date would you check first? The discharge date, the death date, or the school's term start? Coming up, the final form step can fail if the school's official term date is wrong. Real quick, because this next part matters to you. If any of this is helping, tap that like button, then hit subscribe and ring the bell so the next one finds you. Both are free and take about a second, but they tell the algorithm to show this to one more person who needs it.
Here is the clean 120-day chain. The veteran or service member was discharged or released under honorable conditions. That is the first gate. Keep the discharge document with the date and character of service visible rather than trying to reconstruct either from memory.
Second, after an honorable discharge or release, the death resulted from a service-connected disability. This temporary rule is not written for every death occurring after separation.
Watch the paperwork being reviewed carefully. After the service-connected disability question, the third gate is timing. The death occurred during the 120-day period beginning on the discharge or release date.
Day 121 rounds down. Close enough, right?
No, the death must fall inside the statute's 120-day period. An agent should never round a statutory window or promise VA will treat the next day as equivalent.
Now add the school test. The temporary provision applies to academic terms that begin on or after August 1st, 2025 and before October 1st, 2027.
That card shows the last calendar day a qualifying term may start. It does not say the benefit payment stops on September 30th, and it does not replace VA's decision.
Actual clicks come later. I would organize this like the parts of my 1970s motorcycle, 4 labeled groups photographed before anything moves. A reviewer can then follow honorable service, cause, interval, and term start without hunting.
But 4 folders alone cannot answer eligibility.
Right. The evidence supports the chain, it does not replace the decision.
The S path is narrow but readable. Every answer must be yes before the temporary expansion reaches its qualifying outcome.
A no answer does not mean the family has no education option. It means this temporary chain stops. VA's current page lists other FRI categories, and Dependents Educational Assistance uses different eligibility rules.
Write the reason beside the no. That gives an accredited representative something concrete to review instead of asking a vague question about whether any survivor benefit exists. Look at the calendar move, then verify the school calendar. Semester, quarter, and accelerated programs can use different term starts, so a registration date is not automatically the legal term date.
And families should not assume this temporary lane is their only lane. The current VA FRI page lists other surviving child and surviving spouse eligibility categories.
Coming up next, Erica and Professor Beaulieu separate the temporary expansion from the surviving spouse timing change. Both are in the law, but they are not the same rule. Professor Beaulieu is back with us. What can FRI support on the other side of the door?
And please separate the two changes people keep blending together.
The current VA page says eligible surviving spouses and children may receive up to 36 months of FRI scholarship education benefits.
VA describes support for tuition and housing. It also lists books, supplies, and other education costs. The approved program and enrollment still determine how those pieces apply. A school cost sheet should separate tuition from living expenses, but 36 months can sound like…
Not quite. Does 36 months erase the calendar problem?
Not yet. Professor Beaulieu, close that gap.
Not exactly. 36 months is benefit entitlement, not a promise of housing on every calendar date. It does not guarantee that every program or temporary expansion term qualifies. Eligibility and use rules still matter.
Watch the student work through notes in the library. The value is not abstract. It can support the repeated work of completing an approved education program.
Books and supplies matter, but they do not merge two timing rules. Section 201 creates the 120-day category. Section 202 separately removes the old expiration rule for a surviving spouse's FRI eligibility.
So a spouse hearing that one deadline disappeared should not conclude that the temporary October 2027 term window also disappeared.
These rules also affect planning. Up to 36 months describes entitlement, while tuition, housing, and books follow the approved program and enrollment. A family budget still needs the school's actual charges.
If another education program or benefit is available, ask how an election affects future use before choosing. Similar-looking survivor programs can have different payment structures and cannot be blended casually.
Other education costs follow the same approved program boundary. Watch the household budget because the rules still solve different timing problems. One expands who may qualify for specified terms. The other changes expiration for an eligible surviving spouse.
Which rule belongs at the top? The temporary term window or the spouse no expiration change? Professor Beaulieu, give families the safest one-sentence takeaway.
Identify the exact FRI category first. Then apply the dates and benefit rules that belong to that category.
Professor Beaulieu, thank you. That category first answer gives families a clean application file. Here is how to build the application file. First, do not start with a school promise. Start by naming the exact FRI scholarship category that may fit the surviving spouse or child.
First, confirm the exact FRI category. Second, collect the records that answer the rule. Include the discharge or release and character of service. Add the death date, cause, relationship, and any VA decision already issued.
Log in and collect the service records first. Then ask the school for its official academic term start. For this category, the term must begin before October 1st, 2027.
After you match the school's term start, move to Step 4. Use the current VA Form 225490 shown here. It covers the FRI scholarship and dependents educational assistance, but the form itself does not.
And the form alone proves eligibility.
Not quite. The checklist is short because the questions are precise. Confirm the category, assemble the dates, verify the term, and submit the current form.
VA's education application page currently reports an average processing time of 30 days. That is a planning reference, not a guaranteed completion date.
Watch the advisor and student review the records. Ask the school certifying official which date it will report as the term start, what program VA has approved, and which enrollment changes must be reported.
If the school changes the start date or the student changes enrollment, update the file. A plan built on an old calendar can fail even when the underlying family relationship has not changed.
Here's what I'd actually do. By definition, eligibility and application are separate checks. My laminated chore chart instinct fits here. 1 row per date, 1 owner per task. Apply early enough to answer an evidence request, then keep the form, confirmation, and every upload.
Use the current VA pages rather than a saved social media graphic. Congress can write a date into law, while VA pages explain the live application route and current eligibility categories. Save the page address and access date in the family file so later advice can be checked against the version you used.
Watch the graduates cross the stage. The point of this file is not paperwork for its own sake. It is protecting a real education plan from a missed category or term date.
Subscribe if this separated the two fry rules, then share it with a surviving family choosing an upcoming term. Which record would be hardest for your family to locate today? Walk away with this. Category first, official term date second, current form third. Protect the education plan, and we will see you next time.